Grand Rise in America. My name is G.S. Brooks of the Average Movement, and today we're going to talk about politics and Joe Biden's latest presidency of 2020. Congratulations to all the black people that voted for Joe Biden.
An historic and emotional day. I'm elated.
If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happy to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason.
Behind door number one is immigration. I've heard many black people arguing on behalf of immigrant issues and immigrant rights. Knowing your lineage is key, because everyone that's black is not a U.S. citizen and weren't born in the United States. And their political agenda is not with the black natives or the descendants of slaves. But besides lineage, blacks in America are politically infantile. Let me explain what I mean. Joe Biden ran his race and his campaign on immigration. And when he was asked a direct question concerning the black agenda and reparations for the black descendants of U.S. slavery, he ignored black concerns altogether and stated that Hispanics are the future and shall not be ignored.
Vice President Biden, do you support reparations?
I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America, and we should invest in them. Everybody will benefit from it, every single American, and you should get used to it. This is a nation of immigrants. That's who we are. That's why we're who we are. That's what makes us different.
Let me break something down for you real quick. First, Biden is trying to create a rift between blacks and Latinos. It's an age-old divide and conquer tactic. If two minority groups are fighting over the leftover resources, they are not thinking about the one that possesses the real wealth. So be careful not to fall into this trap. Joe Biden is trying to turn blacks against immigrants, but don't fall for it. While immigrants are replacing blacks in the workforce, it is not the immigrants' fault. It is the companies that have simultaneously decided that immigrant labor was the future. Just like big white-owned American companies that decided to take manufacturing jobs out of the United States. This is why China is a superpower today.
In 1978, China had a GDP of only $200 billion, only about 4% of the world's GDP. But nowadays, that GDP has risen to $11 trillion and accounts for 15% of all economic activity in the world. This economic renaissance of the last 40 years is largely thanks to one industry, manufacturing. We've come to accept that China is the world's factory, but it wasn't always this way. In the early 20th century, goods were often just produced right where they were sold. America made American goods, Europe made European goods. It wasn't until cheap worldwide shipping became available that the production side of a company could be relocated to the other side of the world.
Because U.S. racism and greed. China used to be a third world country, particularly in the 80s, until the U.S. decided to take manufacturing jobs that blacks were able to begin developing middle-class communities from across seas.
Before its designation as a special economic zone in 1980, Shenzhen was a tiny town with about 30,000 inhabitants. But today, that's grown to nearly 18 million people. That means that its size rivals that of New York and London. It's believed that Shenzhen might have been the single fastest growing city in human history. Every other special economic zone was an established area before its designation, but Shenzhen made sense as a spot where China could embrace the West as it lay just north of the border of Hong Kong, what was at the time a British territory. Today, Shenzhen is the electronics manufacturing capital of the world.
So Shenzhen as a city is really known for two things. One is its manufacturing capabilities, especially for consumer electronics products, and second is reputation for talents or human resources, especially on the product development and research and development disciplines.
Apple, Samsung, Microsoft, Sony, Canon, they all manufacture products here in Shenzhen. In fact, 90% of the world's electronics are made, at least in part, in this city.
This gave China our wealth in labor. Now they are doing it again. But instead of outsourcing the labor, they are importing the laborers to replace blacks in the workforce. You can see it happening all across this nation. When you voted for Biden, you opened up 4 years of open borders. What does this mean for blacks politically? Well, Joe Biden campaigned on immigration, and he made a point to ignore and discard black issues. He was imitating the Republican Party. Most Republican candidates ignore black issues because they do not need the black vote. Joe Biden campaigned on ignoring black people issues. If he had lost, it would have been a lesson to him that he must address black issues. But he won. So here's my prediction for the first 4 years. He will open up the borders and flood the U.S. with immigrant laborers. Then his cabinet will work arduously to have immigrants registered to vote. By doing this, he will make the black vote irrelevant in both parties, Democrat and Republican. So both Democrats and Republicans will be able to ignore the black vote altogether. You just dug us a political grave. I am not sure if we will be able to survive this. They are going to starve us out economically, and I want black people to be prepared for it. We are not supposed to make immigrants the enemy. Immigrants is not the issue. Let's focus on the policymakers. Let's focus on local elections, and let's make these local politicians accountable. How do we do that? By knowing the local politicians, by going to their offices, making demands, by protesting at their offices and making demands, by getting 3 signatures and putting up a bill before Congress. There's things that we could do locally to start to become politically powerful. And we're going to need it. This is a wake-up call for black voters. You know, we need to start being more politically aware. Like the ADOS movement. I don't agree with everything that the ADOS movement says, but they are very politically aware and politically astute. Tariq Nasheed, the Black Authority, all these black media channels and stations, listen to them politically so you could gain more of an understanding about how we could go about gaining political power. My name is G.S. Brooks of the At-Risk Movement, and I approve this message.
Credible messengers on the move. www.atriskmovement.com